Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance. Don't build the project? Enjoy doing my work then. I work as an engineer, but I wear many hats, including dealing with billing the client. We bill our time to the projects we work on. My current project was coming to an end in May. This all started in April. And I am slated to start a new one in June. Now, my project manager receives a bonus for job completion that is directly tied to the profits made on the job. So, it is in his best interest to remove excess staff from the job early, so they are not draining anything from the remaining funds in the budget. Anything left over from the staffing budget goes to the profit pool. It is somewhat important for me to mention that this project is located 10 minutes from my house, but the new one is 2 hours away. So I asked my manager to keep me on for a month longer so I had time to vacate my current apartment and move to my new one. At the time, he said sure, no problem. To my dismay, behind my back, he transferred me off a week after my request. I didn't even hear from him. I heard from my new project manager. I was confused and upset, and I decided that while I wouldn't confront him, I certainly wasn't going to make his life any easier for him. One of my remaining tasks was to bill the client for the final month. Not a difficult task, but submission is through the client's online portal, which is an antiquated and confusing system to work with. On top of that, the client is a real stickler about making sure the process is correct and that we don't miss deadlines. There are draft submissions, review meetings, and final submissions to worry about, and each step has its own deadlines. Additionally, we have consultants that need to be paid for April's work. I emailed him and asked who was going to take over this task. I explained to him that it was a lot of work and that I just probably stick around for at least a week or two more to show him the process. His response was exactly as I expected. It's just billing, it's not rocket science, I don't need your help, etc. So, to start my malicious compliance, I did exactly as he said. I left it all alone, forwarded every email related to the project to the manager, and waited patiently for the ramifications to kick in. 2 weeks into May, I started getting CC'd on nasty emails from 3 sides. The client, who was getting frustrated that the project manager wasn't following the process correctly and had missed multiple deadlines, the consultants, who hadn't received their pay, and upper management, who didn't understand why after 3 years of everything running smoothly, they were now receiving threatening emails and calls from the consultants. I got called in by the regional vice president, asking why I hadn't properly prepared my manager on the process. Turns out that when the VP questioned my manager, he had blamed me. So I showed him the email where I offered to teach him and he rejected. The vice president called my manager and chewed him out right there and then, and asked why he couldn't hold on to me for a month more. It wouldn't have even been that big of a cost to the project. After that, Vice President asked me to step back in to fix the issue before the end of May. I told him I could do it, but I definitely have to work overtime to make it happen. I got blanket approval for it and worked overtime all week, plus weekends, and I could expense my mileage to go to meetings. I racked up 30 extra hours at 1.5 times pay and 40 weekend hours on double pay on top of my regular 40 hours per week. I found out today that part of the overtime will be docked from my manager's bonus. So, in his quest to earn a tiny bit more in his bonus from removing me from the project, he ended up losing a ton more. I always love it when the higher-ups always try to get that tiny bit of extra money and it ends up costing them like 10 times what they actually expected to save. No computers in class? Okay, I'll use my typewriter instead. This malicious compliance was done by a classmate that I was there to witness. This guy was infamous for being the class smartass. With less than 5 minutes between each class, it wasn't feasible to go to your locker, swap books, and navigate to hordes of crazy ants that was the student body. The majority of students resorted to carrying all 50 pounds of books and binders for notes in their backpacks, which resulted in a lot of health concerns from parents. So, our high school got iPads to give to the students and replace their textbooks and most note binders. Students were happy to no longer have heavy books. Teachers were happy to have more avenues of teaching. All except one teacher who we'll call Mrs. Brady. Fake, of course, since I don't remember her name. Now, Mrs. Brady is the stereotype old person who hates all technology. She still used an old overhead projector, the one that had a lamp at the bottom and you write on a clear sheet on top, when all the classes were outfitted with a smartboard and every other teacher used the heck out of them. She implemented a rule of no computers, including the school-issued iPads, resulting in her class being the only class to have a physical textbook. Now, my classmate, the smart-ass, preferred to type his notes, and for anything that had to be written, formulas and such, he had one of those rubber-tipped styluses. After getting in trouble with Mrs. Brady, he decided to do some malicious compliance. One morning, he walked into the school with what looked like a plastic briefcase. He opens it up and pulls out a typewriter. And this thing was loud AF. Not only did it click and clack loudly as he typed, it rang a bell when he reached the end of the line. And it was electric, so there was a motor to automatically move the roll back into place to type the line. Mrs. Brady was not amused. Students were half amused. Now, if he had just used it in that class, probably wouldn't have been a big deal. But he was a douche on top of being a smartass. So he used it in every single one of his classes. Sometime in the afternoon, he was called into the office and we never see the typewriter again. Cut to the beginning of the next school year, and guess what's on the list of banned items in our student handbook? That's right, typewriters were officially banned from the school due to this guy's malicious compliance. One of many usual bans added because of our class. I think that's perfectly fine. If she says that you can't use technology like iPads and stuff, then why not use a typewriter? All over a 1-cent donation to charity. I work as a manager for a company that is very big in giving great customer service. We also have a nominated charity every month to raise charity for. This month, it's for women and children of domestic violence. When we finalize transactions, we ask if the customer would like to round up their purchase to the next dollar and give it to charity. For example, $19.95 goes to $20 with 5 cents going to charity. $19.27 would go to 20 again with 73 cents going to charity, and etc. So, a customer gives an online feedback very annoyed that when she got to home, she realized her transaction was rounded up without being asked. Now, I completely agree that the customer should always be asked, no question. I'm 100% on her side. I call her and she oddly sounds like she's in her 20s, but was polite on the phone. I do the usual apology, etc., and ask her what she would like to do. She says she wants the money returned to her. That's totally fine with me, I think. She says she doesn't want to come in, so I tell her I'll get one of my managers to call her to organize it later that day, and I write down her receipt number details. So I go up and bring a copy of her receipt, and her purchase ended in 99 cents. So we rounded it up 1 literal cent. I get my manager to call her to organize a refund onto her credit card, and she says she doesn't want that. She wants it returned onto a gift card as she used one to pay for the goods originally. My manager checks with me, and I say, absolutely, let's give her what she wants. So we create a gift card that has a value of a single cent on it and then organize to mail it to her. I'm not even mad. I think it's the funniest situation ever. And although it cost me more to create and send the gift card, I just love the idea of this girl carrying around a gift card worth a single cent. thinking that she is somehow morally winning in the situation. Funnily enough, the charity still get the 1 cent donation, so I don't feel bad. But this has to be the single most petty refund I've ever witnessed in my extensive retail career. Surely, if she wanted to spend the 1 cent, she wouldn't be able to, so she'd have to add another $20 or $10 onto that card to be able to spend it. So that's a big win for the company, I guess. You want me to include a class on intelligent design? Alrighty. It's 2007 in Central Tennessee, and my uncle is head of the board of a local community center. Most activities there are recreational: basketball, indoor soccer, and so on. But in the summer, the center hosted the local school district's adult ed program. Now, adult ed is pretty loose. They are genuine academic classes and GED courses, but also classes for life enrichment, like basket weaving, gardening, and so on. Well, this was the Bible Belt, and a lot of folks in the community were pressing for a class on intelligent design. My uncle had a degree in biology and really disagreed with the concept of intelligent design. But there was a public hearing and a board meeting about the whole thing, and my uncle was outvoted. He had to include a summer class on intelligent design. Well, okay, if you insist. My uncle turns to an old friend who used to teach at the same high school as him. Let's call him Dale. Dale agreed to teach the class, but not before doing some scheming with my uncle. You see, Dale had minored in world religion at college. So, my uncle and Dale put together the curriculum, and they sent out the big brochure/syllabus thing that has all the classes available and a brief description of each. There's a class on intelligent design listed, alright, but it's not what the townspeople expected. It was intelligent design as understood in Islam. There was going to be modules on Islam's contribution to the theory of intelligent design, a big component on the Islamic Golden Age and the Islamic philosophies behind intelligent design. There was not a single mention of Christianity anywhere. To say people were hysterical was an understatement. Remember, 2007 is still close to 9/11 and the Iraq War. People called for my uncle's head, and yet he had done nothing wrong. He had included a class on intelligent design on the summer curriculum. It just happened to be Islamic. There were some pretty wild local news articles. Actually, I think some of you may find them. And the board attempted to vote my uncle out, but failed. They ended up just scrapping the whole class before it could start for budget reasons. But not before they barred Dale from teaching and tried to get a semi-retired youth pastor to throw a course together. To this day, my uncle, who now lives in California, loves to tell this story. I'm not religious and I don't want to offend anyone that is religious because I respect everyone's views, but isn't it just the same? Like, intelligent design, is it not just the same in every religion? I might be mistaken, but let me know. Won't give me my asked off days that I asked for 2 months in advance? Enjoy your Sunday. Some backstory. I worked in a thrift store for 5 years and have seen many different bosses come and go. They were given a year to bring the store out of the red or be transferred. We had about 6 to 8 managers come through the store and each had their own idiotic rules or quirks. This one came with a warning label. When it was announced that she was going to be our new manager, one of our staff broke into tears because she used to yell at him about his work ethic and once threw something at him in rage. After hearing the rumors and actually working with her, nobody really liked her. One of the annoying things was that she would practically scare away her new hires. She told one new hire that if she couldn't work the hours, then don't bother showing up. The thrift store only paid minimum wage, so with the temperamental boss and the low pay, we were badly understaffed in all areas. Now, to the malicious compliance. After 5 years of being underpaid to do the hell that was working in the thrift store, I was so done with it all. I prayed to get grazed by a car, so I would have a good excuse to take a few days off of work. Fortunately, the Renaissance Fair was coming up, so I had something to look forward to. I love this fair, and I go about 4 times a year. I would go weekly if I could afford it. They are on the weekends, so I decided that I would take every Sunday off for 5 weeks. It would just be one day, and they would have to work around, and I would still work Saturdays. I knew that we were having a staffing issue, so I asked for these days off over 2 months in advance. They started in the end of September and ended at the end of October. Once they were in the system, I told my boss about the days and then waited. September rolls around, and she has finally looked at the system, and she informed me that she was going to do the best she could. I was worried, but we just hired a new person to do cashier, so I didn't think much of it. The end of September comes up, and I'm scheduled for the first Sunday I asked off. I didn't fuss and showed up anyways. She told me she was going to try her best, so I gave her the benefit of a doubt. Next Sunday, same thing. She posted the schedule ahead of time this week, and I saw that she was only giving me 2 out of 5 days. At this point, I was putting my foot down. I could have let it go, but 1, I had bought a season pass, and you have to go there at least 3 times, so money isn't wasted. 2, we have staff to take over for me on Sundays, but they never bothered to train her. 3, I gave them over 2 months to figure it out. And 4, I don't get paid enough to sacrifice my free time to a store that doesn't care about me. I wasn't planning on letting her get away with this, so I passive-aggressively left her little reminders, sticky notes, on her monitor every other day that I would not be available for the upcoming Sunday. They annoyed her to no end. I arrived at work one morning to a furious manager. I won't write down what was said because I don't remember, and it was a really short argument, but there was one sentence that sealed it all for me. She refused to back down to my argument and told me, "If you want it off so badly, then just call off." At the end of my shift, I gave them my already typed out 2 weeks notice and continued on with my day. She never said anything to me for the rest of the week, and on the next Sunday, I took her advice and called off. I heard from another co-worker that the manager called the assistant manager in bafflement. She said over the phone, "You will never believe who just called off. It's been a year of money troubles, but I don't regret quitting from that crappy place, and I will never forget her reaction to my malicious compliance." Legend says that she was so scared after losing her only full-time cashier, me, she now approves even ridiculous day off requests. Good on that person for leaving, because they shouldn't have to put up with that kind of employment. I'd just leave straight away. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.